The real reason I joined Real, well, it should really be a multitude of reasons that I'm going to talk about. And in fact, I would say Real chose me as much as I chose it. And what I mean by that is, as a realtor of nearly 20 years, throughout my career, different things have been of different value for me. The different things have become more important, and different features have become less important as a realtor. And the industry has changed. So certain things that were relevant a decade or 2 decades ago are not as important or not as relevant. And future is changing. So let me start right from the top. When I first fell into real estate nearly 20 years ago, I landed with Remax. There was a realtor there that was my old realtor, and he wanted to work together. And so that's where I hung my hat, so to speak. I didn't really do any research. I didn't investigate other brokerages, and I did recognize Remax, and of course it was a great brand to work with. It continues to be a leader in the industry, but it was in its prime about 20 years ago. And it was great. I was, working alongside very successful realtors. I was at a company that was built for realtors doing business, and it was continuing to grow and expand across Canada at that time. And I just put my head down. I learned the craft of real estate, and I got to work. And as I was doing that, I really started to learn a lot from different coaches across Canada. I bought the Millionaire Real Estate book, the Keller Williams Red book, we say, the Real Estate Bible. I worked those systems. I really built my business around that, and got a thriving business, very quickly. And I was at Remax for probably about, I think, 6-7 years. And it was awesome. It was very successful, but I would certainly say that the success I was seeing was my own results. I was causing that success, and I was really, the driver. And although the brand was great, I wouldn't attribute a lot of my success as a result of the brand. It was more of what I was doing. And an opportunity came up probably about 12 years ago. I started hearing about a company called Keller Williams, and I was modeling a lot of their systems and finding a lot of their tools online. And just as it would have things be, my old business partner and I, we, along with another group of realtors, we opened up the first Keller Williams in Vancouver proper about 10 years ago. And it was exciting. It was a real opportunity to create a new type of company in Vancouver. It had a great culture. We grew it over the next 8 years to have 150 agents. It was one of the top brokerages in town, and we had the best training, I would say. We were really a kept secret. Almost many people didn't know we existed, but it was awesome. What I discovered probably a few years towards the end of that was the industry was changing. I was following other, broker owners in the States and across Canada, and when they were getting to a place of renewing their business license with their franchisor, many of them were, questioning what the next decade would look like, and that was kind of the obligation to sign on for another decade. And so as I did that, looking into the future, I really recognized a lot of things that were changing in the industry and would continue to change. And what I kind of figured out was that, Keller Williams was an amazing brokerage built on philosophy and culture and the best training in the business. But in Canada, it hadn't really grown into the opportunity that it could have. And it was faltering, and it was kind of fizzling out. And so we had a great opportunity, my business partner and I, and the investors, to sell the company at the right time. We kind of sold at the peak of the industry. This is several years ago. And since then, what I suspected and what I predicted has been coming to fruition, which is the brokerage business is kind of at the tip of the amalgamation point. And what I mean is, over the last decade, certainly in the Vancouver marketplace, there was a lot of new entrants into the market, being brokers and brokerages, realtors who wanted to open up their own brand or expand a franchise. And kind of the peak of that momentum was probably 2022. And since then, a lot of brokerages have consolidated, and the next 10 years that will continue. I believe the landscape in the future of brokers and brokerages is very different. There'll be a lot less brokerages, they'll be larger, and there'll probably be about 4 main ecosystems of the brokerage world that a realtor will, run their business from. And so in doing that research and seeing what the future, was, I kind of figured out, again, luckily with the successful sale of the brokerage, that the brokerage business wasn't for me. And I was able to figure out, okay, if I have another, 15 years of real estate ahead of me. The next 5 years, I'm going to be very busy, as I have been for the last, 15. And then after that, I'll probably slow down a little bit. And so what I was looking for was a brokerage that could be successful for me when I'm busy, be successful for me when I'm slower, meaning that it has a cost model that makes sense in my environment based on the volume of business and what I need. And as I was looking around, I heard about Real, and I investigated it further and further. And what's really important to me as a realtor, and that's what I am, although I've started other companies and had the pleasure of starting now 3 and selling 3 7-figure companies and selling one of them. First and foremost, I am a realtor and continue to do that as my main business. I wanted to have a company that I was working at that had, more options for revenue streams and ways of growing my wealth than other brokerages. And that's certainly something that's really important to me. At Real Broker, there are multiple ways of growing your wealth, multiple ways, of getting compensated and of building your assets, from discounted stock purchase to getting recognition and compensation in stocks when you hit certain thresholds of your production, to if you are an influencer and you want to attract other agents and are willing to help be their mentor and guide them, there's benefits that way. I also wanted to be in a platform and a company that was vertically integrated, that wasn't all about bolt-on technologies and add-ons, and had really developed things that were working from a technology perspective and were taking it serious, that's where the industry was going. The industry is definitely migrating into a place where bricks and mortar is no longer, automatically the requirement. It still has big value, and so a lot of agents at Real Broker have options available to them of where they can go and sit down and do some work when that is needed. But more importantly, the bricks and mortar for me personally is not that important. I can work from my home, I can work from the road and cafes, and we've created some workspaces within the Vancouver area as well since joining that are offering options for other realtors who need a sit-down place. That being said, again, what also is important to me is having a company that is growing in the world, that is expanding, because I'm really, really into realtor referrals and networking with the realtor ecosystem beyond my local environment. I want to learn from the best realtors. I want to get best practices and rub shoulders at events with some of the best producers at that time. And so, at REMAX, I certainly had that with World Conferences, and at Keller Williams, they had some of the largest real estate conferences out there. But what I'm really excited about is being at the semi-ground floor with this company, Real Broker, as it expands and grows. It currently is in the US and in half of Canada. It will expand beyond that, and it'll go worldwide. And that's really, really exciting for the next 5 to 15 years for me, because there's a whole bunch of business partners that I haven't met yet that have opportunities in the Vancouver landscape, have opportunities across Canada for other realtors. And, we're kind of at the ground floor, and that's important to my business and important for me to keep me excited in the business. There's so many features in real estate that are of value. And if you are thinking of potentially changing what I would say, regardless of where you go, really ask yourself, what are the features in a real estate brokerage that are important to you and that you need and that you're willing to pay money for? Because you can find brokerages that offer beautiful boutique service where you're paying a bit more, and there's a team that can help you, everything from doing your photography to your marketing. And then there's the complete opposite, where you can go with a brokerage that charges you very little, and in turn, doesn't offer you much more than just processing your transactions and your managing broker duties. And so there isn't a right or wrong answer for any one person. The wrong answer is going to the wrong brokerage expecting different things than what they offer. And the wrong answer is not investigating what is out there, what options are available for realtors today. And the wrong answer is thinking that today is how the industry is going to be forever. The right answer is understanding where the industry is going, figuring out how much longer are you going to be a realtor and what's important to you over the next 1, 2, 5, 10 years. And don't you rather be at a company that is in the prime of their growth, that offers those things that you need, that is also growing in the direction of where you want to go? Those are the kind of things that I would be asking myself if I was a realtor and currently not at Real Broker. Those are the kind of things that I did ask myself and that I did write down and create a pros and cons list, so to speak. Create a SWOT analysis of what are the strengths, what are the weaknesses, what are the opportunities and threats of the current brokerage that you're at, and then do that for other brokerages that you might be considering. Because not only is selling real estate important, it's obviously your primary business as a realtor, but managing your expenses and managing where you hold your license and who you're learning from and who you're working with is equally as important for your liability, for your financial success, and for your mental health. So I welcome any of you who are watching this video. If you've watched it this far, feel free to reach out to me. I'm as real as a realtor gets. I'm straight to the point, and I always tell you what I can share and from my perspective. And so if reaching out to me would be of value, please contact me. If this video offered you some insight and some value, please smash it and like it. And I hope we meet out there, and all the best to you.